Hello everyone, welcome back to English Champion. On this episode, I have an interesting article I want to share with you. It actually came out a couple weeks ago, and I had intended to share it with you then, but all the Harvard mess came up, and I wanted to get on top of that as quickly as I could, and so that's what I've been covering the last 2 weeks. But this piece is very interesting for me especially, and anyone who watches might appreciate it as well, because it kind of incorporates the main things that I talk about on this channel and that I write about. It's about writing, student writing. It's about how we teach writing as well. There's also a literary component to this article that I really appreciate. It's about literature in some way. It's about the education process of, again, teaching and learning and what classrooms should be like. And it's also tying together all of that with technology. And so kind of everything I talk about all in one article here. And it's a very interesting perspective. And this teacher who wrote it, I respect her kind of self-awareness in her role in this. And I wish that more teachers kind of thought this way, and especially more administrators, because what we're going through right now with students in certain educational environments, this happens to be the online world, there's a lot of problems, and she is starting to recognize it, and good for her. And so I want to share some of her thoughts with you today. So her article title is called "Who is the Monster? We have created an educational system that too often breeds academic dishonesty." So she is about to compare this idea of creating a monster to a very famous novel, as you'll see. She starts with this: "Like many community college faculty, I teach some classes online. One of my favorites is my course Norse mythology and the Viking world. We read the myths, traditional and contemporary retellings. I've long enjoyed engaging with students in online discussions until recently when I was attacked by a monster. A monster generated by a robot, a chatty robot, the stuff of science fiction, if it weren't so real. A student of mine, Dolores, submitted a post on our discussion board forum. These posts are informal 300-word responses to a series of questions related to the week's readings. In her post, Dolores referred to a text I did not assign, using the kind of sophisticated language I would attribute to a graduate student in an advanced literature seminar." Okay, so first off, for those who aren't as familiar, I mean, most people probably are by now because these online classes have been around a long time, but if you're not aware, the online classes tend to have these discussion boards. And these discussion boards are one of the biggest farces that has ever been portrayed in all of education, because they're absolutely meaningless nonsense. They're called discussion boards because they're intended to mimic what an actual classroom discussion would be, where, a student has an idea, and then another student gets on and responds with an idea. And so it's all done through typing, and it's done in these little boxes. And so as teachers, we have to kind of do some form of assessment, because we're like, well, I need to make you talk in class, and this is the only way to do that because it's all asynchronous and you're just sitting behind a screen and you're typing. You're not actually speaking to anybody. So how do I assess this? How do I make this part of the grade portion of the class? And so, like many teachers, she says these are 300-word responses. And so, again, anyone who's done this for any length of time, and any student who goes through this, they don't care about the responses. They don't even care about contributing to these. Okay, like any situation, there's always like 5 or 10% who actually care about stuff, but everyone else doesn't. They're just doing this to get through it. So what students do is, one, they'll cheat, as this story is about to unfold, we'll share with you, or they just ramble for 300 words because they're like, well, I have to say this amount in the box, so that's just what I'll write. And so it becomes just like, I'm here contributing and I agree with everything the class is saying and I find this all really interesting. It's like it's the most banal stuff you've ever heard. And as she says, these posts are informal, so the kids really don't care about it. They don't care about how they sound or the writing technique of it, punctuation, spelling, any of that stuff. It's just all gobbledygook. And so many teachers try to enforce some sort of standard to it, where it's like it has to follow, certain formatting, it has to be written grammatically correct and all that stuff. But again, students don't actually care about it. They're just doing it to check a box because that's what you make them do. So it's not about sitting in a room and someone says something interesting and another kid goes, "Ooh, I have a comment to that. Let me share." And then the teacher kind of guides it and says, "What do you think? Let's talk about that new idea." None of that happens in these discussion boards. It's just a kid posts a response. "I thought this was interesting, blah, 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 blah." And then other kids, "Yeah, great point. I thought it was interesting too." And like, it just goes on like that. It's completely pointless. No one learns anything from these. And even when teachers try to facilitate and provide comments and all, because that's what you have to do as an online teacher. It doesn't really matter. The students don't care about it. Okay. There have been many times where I've had to teach online classes and I will have posted things and then I'll check back with students. They're like, oh, I never saw that. Yeah, because you didn't read any of it. The students don't care. Okay. If you're in an online class, it means you don't care about any of this. That's why you're doing it online. So it's all a farce. None of this is worthwhile. And it's why online education is radically inferior to in-person education. I'm not saying in-person is perfect either. Kids can slide by, as we just talked about for the last 2 weeks at Harvard. But you can hold students more accountable. You can actually check on their learning. Students are forced to participate in real time, not this asynchronous nonsense. You can challenge people in real time. You can generate new ideas. It's way better. The online discussion board forums are an abomination, and it's crazy that we still think this is a good idea. It's just not, because it goes back to like the foundations of what technology is. Remember the basics of Marshall McLuhan. The medium is the message. So when you're in a different medium, you can't take a classroom discussion that was in person. That's one medium, and transfer it to another completely different medium and call it the same thing. Well, let's call it discussion. The teachers and the kids will discuss. It's like, no, those are not the same at all. So the medium always instructs us how to engage with it. And so what is the medium, in this case an online discussion board, instructing us to do? Well, it means you can do it whenever you want. So there's no actual back and forth dialogue. It's informal, so I don't actually have to watch how I communicate. And there's a word requirement, whereas in a discussion, actual discussion, you say whatever you want. And maybe someone interrupts you, or maybe someone asked you a question, and like there's a back and forth. I got to type my 300 words, and then I'm done. Period. Submit, and I finished my assignment because I typed 300 words. Like that, the whole thing is, again, the medium changes everything. It is not a discussion. You can call it a discussion board. It is not. Okay, so what did this student write? For context, the teacher, the author says, we have no English majors at my community college. I teach humanities electives to students in computer science, criminal justice, nursing, business, and other vocational programs. I also teach liberal arts and sciences majors, planning to transfer to four-year institutions. So this is very normal. This is what community college is, of course. More context. I've been reading student writing for 3 decades. While there is great variety in style and skill, especially at a community college, I know student work when I see it. I have also learned in the past couple of years to recognize AI generated text, which I call bot bull. Dolores's work was definitely the latter. We were 4 weeks into the term, and I had not encountered bot bull in anyone else's work. Maybe the other students were better cheaters. I couldn't let myself go there. I would surely turn into the creature in Mary Shelley's novel, rejected and betrayed, drifting into oblivion on a lonely iceberg. So she's going to start talking about Frankenstein a little bit. But, this person, at least she says, is very experienced. This is how I was too, where like, well, once you've been doing this a while, for her 3 decades, for me at the college level, 17 years, you can tell the difference between student writing and AI writing. Everyone thinks, oh, the AI writing is so good. It mimics regular people. No, it doesn't. It's when you know what you're looking for. I can tell how a 19-year-old sounds compared to how a computer sounds. And I can tell how really smart 19-year-olds sound compared to how a computer sounds. So like, it's obvious to all of us who have been doing this, who are writing experts. There's no fooling, okay? It's so easy to tell. And as she said, she knows it. And there are some key signifiers as to why she was able to tell. So she wants to have a chat with this young lady. So she says, at the Zoom I had requested, Dolores emphatically denied my allegations. So I asked her about her writing process. So she's thinking, oh, this girl is cheating. Let's investigate a little bit. Let's ask her what she did, how she wrote this. She told me she does research on the internet. I explained that research was not necessary at this point, that the answers are found in the assigned readings. I told her that these forums are like discussions in face-to-face classes. No, they're not. We try to make them that way, but they're not. Where students and I share our interpretations and insights, and together we make meaning out of this complex and fascinating material. Okay, real quick. Again, she's doing the best she can. I don't fault this teacher. This is kind of the right textbook answer to give a kid. However, we have to remember, students do not care about any of that. Okay, they don't care about sharing interpretations and insights. They don't care about making meaning out of complex material. They don't. They're there to check a box. That's why they're taking it online. That's why people go to college now anyway, just in general, but especially in an online format because they view it as easier. So they're like, oh, this will be super convenient. I don't actually have to go anywhere. I can stay at home, stay in my pajamas, and I can check all the boxes. I can do all the the tasks that are in the module that I have to complete, and I'll say, ta-da, I got educated. Hand me my diploma, please. And that's all this is. They don't care about the back and forth. They don't care about the engagement with their peers or even with their professor. It's just give me the task. I'll do the bare minimum so I can get out of here and go to the next thing. And I'll call that my college education. That's all it is. So again, she's trying the best she can to explain to this young lady, like, well, you're not really doing what you're supposed to be doing. And the kid in her mind is going, yeah, because I don't care about that. I care about just doing the tasks. So that's what I'm going to do. This other thing reminds me when she says, she does research on the internet, and she told her, like, you don't have to be doing that. I want to know what you think. Reminds me, I've told this story before, but I had a student once, this has happened a million times, but there was one vivid memory in class. This is an in-person class, where I asked a student a question. She was, we were dealing with a piece of text, and she was a little confused by it, and so she was kind of stumped on how to engage with it, and we were going to write an essay about it, and so we were kind of preparing ourselves, taking notes and brainstorming ideas and on what we might say to argue with this piece of text that I had given her. And so I could tell she was confused. So I came over and asked, it's like, hey, what are you stuck on? What can I help you with? And so I asked her a question about the text. I said, let's make this simpler. Instead of looking at the text as a whole, let's just look at this paragraph. Let's read this. What do you think this author means when he says this? And she has her laptop because she's reading the article, and she starts typing. And I'm standing there and I'm like, what are you doing? I asked you a question. And so I look over on her computer screen, on her laptop, and she's typing into Google, what does this author mean when he says this? She's asking Google the very question I just asked her. Okay? So I said, no, stop typing. I said, I want to know what you think. When he says this, what is your opinion about his argument here? What do you think? And she goes, well, I just want to hear what other people have to say. In her case, I'm doing some research. And I said, no, we're not doing research. I want to know your thoughts. You've read it. You can understand that. What do you think about it? She's like, well, I want to hear what other people have to say first. It's like, no, that's not what we're doing here. So this young lady was doing the exact same thing, that she's doing research when the task doesn't require research. When you're doing research in that way, you're looking for someone else to give you an answer. The teacher's trying to get you to think for yourself, to have your own honest reactions and responses and demonstrate some critical thinking and all that stuff that we're trying to do as teachers. And the students, they don't want to do any of that. This happened in person in my class, so it's even worse online, where the students can be completely detached from any human accountability. Thankfully, I was there and I watched it happen in real time, and I could stop her and say, no, don't do that. Have a conversation with me. Let's learn about this. Let me guide you through this. Let's learn. No, they're not interested in learning. They're just trying to, what's the fastest way I can get some answer that I can turn in? It doesn't matter if it's my answer. I'll just borrow one from the internet, or, as we'll see here, I'll just have AI come up with it, and then I'll put my name on it and say that I came up with it. That's what it is. Why? Because the learning process is not part of this. They don't care about that. It's just, what's the task? How can I get it done as fast as possible? AI or Google or anything else is the fastest way, so I'll just cheat and that'll be done. And I'll do the checkbox, and you can give me a grade because you probably won't catch it, and I'll go on to my next class. And eventually I'll compile a transcript with a bunch of classes that I said I took and that I turned in work for, but I didn't actually do any work because I had AI or do it, or I just cheated off somebody. And so now I'm a college graduate. Congratulate me, please. That's where it's at. So again, this teacher is realizing, the students don't care about this. So she continues, it doesn't feel good to accuse someone of cheating. I tried to be firm but supportive. I recognize that college can be stressful, and AI seems like an efficient way to get your work done quickly, but courses like mine not only introduce students to wonderful literature, but also help sharpen critical thinking and writing skills. So again, she's doing her best, but the kid doesn't care about that. The kids who are in these classes do not care about wonderful literature, critical thinking, or improving their writing skills. That's not why they're here. They're here to get a credential. They're here to go through the checkboxes. That's what online teaching is. It's a bunch of checkboxes. So again, this lady's trying her best, and I commend her for kind of taking the guidebook of community college instructors kind of path here. Like, this is what you're supposed to say, but the kid doesn't care about what you're supposed to say. They're not there for that. They're there because they're looking for the easiest thing possible. She also said it doesn't feel good to accuse someone of cheating, and that's true. It's not nice. We don't want to do that. I don't want my profession to be like I'm going around as a detective trying to track cheaters. That's not why I got into teaching. It's surely not why she got into teaching. So it makes Those of us who are teachers, it makes us feel bad that we have to kind of do this to check up on students and hold them accountable. But this is kind of where we're at. She says, "That's not monstrous, is it? Well, then why did I feel like one?" She shouldn't. She's trying to find the truth. You don't have to feel like a monster if you're trying to find the truth. So she hasn't done anything wrong. I don't know why she feels bad, but again, I know it's not great to find students who are cheating. The next week, Dolores turned in an annotated bibliography. Hers contained sources related to medical ethics. I emailed and asked her to explain how medical ethics relates to Norse mythology, hoping the error was clerical. Was this assignment supposed to be uploaded to another online class? No. I got a reply that was part botbull, empty, sterile, utilitarian words, and part grammatical, syntactical, and verbal chaos. The second part, presumably written by the student, was nearly intelligible. She concluded with the request that if I still didn't think that topic related to our course, to please let her know. I did let her know that, following the college's and my academic honesty policy, I was issuing her a failing grade. If she wished to discuss the matter further, she should contact my dean. So this is something students do, where they'll turn in something that you're like, this isn't related to what we're doing at all. So what's happening here? Sometimes it's on accident where it's actually for another class and they accidentally submitted this when they meant to put it into their other online class. Sometimes that happens. Much of the time, it's exactly what this teacher discovered, which is you just were submitting anything. Or maybe it was from another class and you're like, maybe I can double dip and submit it for this class too and the teacher won't notice. Well, the teacher did notice, because any good teacher does notice these things. And this is what students do, is they'll go, oh, if you didn't like that topic, I can do another one, as if she came up with this topic as a legitimate kind of thing to be submitted for her class, and is just trying to be helpful, like, oh, well, I'm happy to do another one. Well, you didn't do the first one right, so why do you think you're so eager to do a second one? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So this is a trick that students pull a lot, where they're testing to see if the teacher will notice, because if the teacher notices, as in this case, they'll act very helpful, like, oh, I didn't know. Here, give me, let me try another one. I'll do another project for you. When really what they were trying to do is, what's the minimum I can submit here so that I don't actually have to do this work? And if they catch me, I'll offer to do another one. But if they don't, haha, I got away with it. I didn't actually have to do anything. I'm still going to get credit, and it all worked out. So there's this like switcheroo game that students do. And it's especially true in online classes, because you're not there to like watch the process like you are in an in-person class, where you see them every day, you answer their questions, you kind of track their progress. No, you don't even talk to this kid, and all of a sudden, boom, on your screen appears this assignment, and you're like, this isn't related at all. And the kid acts like, oh, I thought it was. Well, I can try another one, like they're trying to be really helpful. No, they got busted, and they were cheating. That's just the reality of it. Again, I derive no pleasure in failing a student. Like most community college students, Dolores is just seeking a better life for herself. I've spent nearly 30 years helping students like her improve their lives through access to higher education, but there is no joy in my job now. Again, yeah, that's true. I don't get any pleasure in failing a student either. I've given a lot of Fs in my career and a ton of Ds, which at some school a D is like an F. You have to retake the class. And it doesn't make me happy to do that, but if that's the truth of it, if that's the honest, accurate assessment of a student, well, then that's just the way it is. I don't get happy about it, but I also don't get sad about it, because I'm pursuing the truth. And the truth is, you cheated, or you're not very good at this yet. You need to take this class again, or whatever. So that's accurate. We teachers don't like being people who give out Fs. I would maybe disagree with her a little bit. She's being very positive here, and a lot of teachers do talk like this. I'm much more definitely skeptical, bordering on cynical about this, where she says, like most community college students, she's just seeking a better life for herself. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think kids go to college. I think many kids go to college to actually seek a better life for themselves. I think the majority of college students, whether it's at community college or four-year school, go there because someone told them they needed to, or they just thought of it as the next thing. It was like, well, after junior high, you go to high school. So after high school, you go to college. Like, there's no thought process in, do I actually want to do this or not? Is this something I want to spend all my time studying and reading all these things and writing these papers and doing these projects and taking these tests? They go, well, I guess it's the next thing, so I guess I'll go do that. And I slid by cheating in junior high, and I slid by cheating or doing the minimum in high school, so I'll slide by doing the cheating and doing the minimum in college too. It's all the same. It's just the next step in the path. They're not there to actually better their life. They're there to get a credential with as minimal work as possible. Now, I'm not saying that's everybody, but I think it is a lot of students. I think, like I've said many times before in other episodes, I think there's an 80-20 situation happening here, which is this is how 80% of the students think. They're like, let me do the minimum. If I have to cheat to do it, I'll cheat. If I can take it online where it's way easier, I'll do that. But I'm just going to slide by and get out of here as easy as possible. And it's not about bettering your life. It's you're hoping a credential will better your life, but you're not actually trying to learn. And so I think that's where we are. She's way more positive than I am. After I told a friend what I was dealing with, she observed that I seemed triggered. Triggered? Am I? I'd spent too much time over the past week engaging with Dolores, but that's my job after all. I met with her to share my concerns and find a way forward, but it didn't work. I did have trouble falling asleep the night I read what I believe to be mostly AI-generated emails, but triggered? It's funny when we say I met with somebody okay, you met over Zoom, but again, if you, as teachers who teach in-person classes, you can meet with that kid constantly, and you can actually get a more accurate assessment of how they're doing in the class. When they're at a distance and all you're doing is looking at them through a screen, you don't really know what they're up to, and that's why online classes are no good. I know I felt sullied, taken advantage of, and duped. My whole authentic, enthusiastic, and flawed self goes into my courses, online and face-to-face. Students tell me regularly that they appreciate my presence in our online forums. They claim that in many online courses, the faculty member is virtually absent. I know there are ready-made courses out there. Pop one in, and voila, you have yourself an online course with auto-graded tests that come from an electronic test bank and more. Teaching like this is little more than data entry. There are AI-generated course materials, great robots teaching robots, and AI essay graders, robots grading essays written by robots. Oh, brave new world, as Shakespeare said. It's just not a world in which I want to live. So she's right about a couple things here. One, that the faculty, if we stipulate that the students don't care about online classes, we can also stipulate that teachers don't care about online classes either. Trust me, they don't. They do the minimum. They check in to see, that the kids are submitting things. If the school requires you need to reply to each post, that day, the teachers will do that if they have to. But mostly it's nonsense. Okay, I taught online for a couple years just to try it out and see what it was like, and I went above and beyond, kind of like this lady saying, like, I was always available. I used to teach. I don't know, what was it, like 200 writing students a semester. I mean, it was a lot. And I would make personalized videos for every single student on every single paper. It took me forever. Now, the kids were very appreciative. They were the ones who watched them and used my advice anyway. But I knew other teachers weren't doing that. I used to put tons of comments all over papers. I knew other teachers weren't doing that because the way it was set up, I could see what was going on in other classes. I could see other teachers' grade books. And there's like all A's, A. And mine was a pretty normal bell curve distribution. So it's like, I'm doing way more than anybody else here. What's happening in this online world? Well, she's exactly right. There are teachers out there who don't do very much. And it's an easy paycheck. And so the reality of it is, I know I'm a way better teacher in person than I was online. And yet I was one of the best online teachers. And so like that's the gap, is even a good online teacher isn't as good online as they would be in person. And so it's not only the students that are not performing to their best abilities or giving their best effort. The teachers think this way too. Again, I was really good at being an online teacher, and yet even I would check it twice a day. I'd go in like late morning after kids had submitted stuff the night before or early that morning, and I would respond and I would write a bunch of emails and do a bunch of feedback on stuff. And then I would let it sit for a couple hours. I'd go back in at like 4 in the afternoon after kids had kind of read over my stuff. I'd do the same thing, and then I'd be done. I wouldn't look at it again until the next day or after the weekend or whatever. It's not like you're on your computer all day long doing work. Whereas when I'm in person in class, I'm with students every minute of that class period. And then I do that 4 times a day. I'm with students all the time. The online class? No, I go in, I do my minimum, and I'm out. Because that's what teachers do. And again, I went beyond what most teachers do. And for me, I even felt like, I could be doing more, but what's the difference? The kids don't read the stuff. Other teachers aren't doing it. So even though I'm doing a good job, I probably don't have to do this. And so that's how it is. I mean, it's just the reality of it. The second thing is, yeah, we've gotten to this point where, like she said, robots grading essays written by robots. Yeah, this kids go, well, I'm gonna just cheat on this, and so I'll hand that in, and the teachers, because they don't want to read anything anymore, and they'll just have AI do it. The AI will just grade it, and so there's no humans involved. The student had a computer write the paper, the teacher had a computer grade the paper, and so it gets posted as a score, and no human involvement occurred. That's what we're calling education today. And again, that happens. It can happen in person as well if you're not careful, but it definitely happens online. So this is where we are, and no one wants to admit it. It's so weird that we all just keep going along with this facade, calling it education, and it's like, oh, yeah, we're doing real schoolwork here. No, we're not. This isn't real at all. It's so ridiculous. I'm glad she's kind of pointing this out because this is what I've been saying for years. She says, I grade my own tests, I generate my own discussion questions, my own assignments, I read everything students write, I engage with them in weekly forums, I welcome their insights as I teach them how to formulate these insights, little awkward sentence there, and support them with textual evidence explaining that these critical thinking skills are not unlike what they will be called upon to do in their chosen fields. So she's trying to not use the technology, she's trying to do everything herself, which is good. I feel like some sacred trust has been broken. Was this the first time in my 30-year teaching career that I caught a student cheating? Well, absolutely not. Was this my first AI rodeo? No. It was the first time that I failed someone before the end of the semester and the first time I requested a formal conduct review. I gave Dolores a second chance, but not a third. I didn't let her dangle in the limbo of subpar grades only to fail in the end, because AI-generated work is almost always subpar if you take the time to actually read it. But to quote the Bard again, there's the rub. More on this later. I called the student out and I feel like a monster, but I also feel attacked by a monster. Again, I don't know why she feels like a monster, but we'll let her keep going with this metaphor. When I teach, I use my own words, fueled by the passion I have for my subject matter and my utmost respect for teaching and learning. More importantly, as a first-generation college student myself, I've seen how critical thinking, writing, and reading skills improved my lot in life. Not sure why she had to put first-generation college student. Doesn't matter. If you're a college student, you're a college student. For all these reasons and more, I look at students who cheat as nothing more than monsters. Little, lying monsters. Bamboozling their way through the education system, learning nothing, and bragging at graduation about how they ChatGPT'd their way to a college degree, as if that's something about which to be proud. Hey world, look how ignorant I am. But these students are not monsters. I looked up Dolores' unofficial transcript. She had earned 39 credits so far, mostly online. Did any of Dolores' previous faculty read anything that she wrote? Was she assigned any writing or research? Did anyone ever talk to her on Zoom? So this is where her argument's going, which is, well, yeah, the students are to blame because they're doing the cheating, but did we create a system here that we made this possible? And in fact, maybe we even incentivized it because, if we intentionally wanted to make things so convenient and easy, well, doesn't that just kind of prompt students to think this way that, well, if it's all supposed to be fast and easy, I'll just do it in the fastest, easiest way possible. I'll just cheat. She talks about some of the learning outcomes of her school and how it doesn't look like other teachers have been necessarily abiding by those. She says, based on what I've observed, Dolores, who is more than halfway through her degree, is not able to demonstrate any of these skills, either because she has not been given assignments to practice them or more likely has not had her work carefully read and evaluated by a human. Again, yeah, in online classes, the professors don't care. Again, I did care, and I was still doing it in a way that wasn't nearly as good as I do in my in-person classes. So even those of us who are good at it, it's still below what would be done in an in-person environment. We are doing Dolores a grave disservice by allowing her to copy and paste her way to a college degree. Exactly. We are the ones betraying her and breaking a sacred trust by allowing her to complete the requirements for a college degree with little or no guidance and oversight. So what does this make me? Ye old gatekeeper, telling her in my best Gandalf impersonation, you shall not pass. If I'm a monster, I'm not the only one. The college where I teach is a monster. Higher education is a monster. The tech industry is a monster. My colleagues who slip in course cartridges with their auto-graded tests and quizzes, who don't participate in discussion board forums, if there even are any, who do not get to know their students, who barely assign any research or writing in their courses, or assign it but don't read it. They are the monsters. We're all monsters. We created a system, online learning, that when faculty do not engage with it, breeds academic honesty. But the platform, Blackboard, Moodle, Canvas, whichever, is not the monster either. Like Victor Frankenstein, we created something and now refuse to take responsibility for it. We call it a learning management system. But the only thing we are managing is fraud on the part of the students, the faculty, and the administration. We allow low-maintenance online courses with little student contact or oversight to basically make it ridiculously easy for students to cheat, and then, like the good doctor himself, walk away with our hands in the air exclaiming, "Not my responsibility." But it is our responsibility. Every graduate of every college and university should be able to produce original thinking and writing, and the only way to achieve this is for faculty to engage with the learning process. Does it take time? Sure it does. Is it ugly? Sometimes. But if we reject our creation because it's not pretty, we will suffer the fate of Victor Frankenstein and be consumed by the ignorance we have allowed to fester. And ignorance is a disease that creates monsters more horrifying than a plagiarized essay. Okay, so this is interesting analysis on a couple levels. One is that she's kind of echoing something that people like Neil Postman have talked a lot about, especially in his book, Technopoly. This is a main argument he makes, which is we often think that technology is only positive. Like, oh, this is going to be great. Everyone's going to love this. And there's no thought at all about the possible consequences. And so, in my classes, I would talk about this a lot where I was like, do you think Mark Zuckerberg ever thought when he invented Facebook of the negative consequences that could occur from these social media platforms like his? I'm sure he thought this is going to be fantastic. There's no way this could go wrong. Everyone's going to want to be able to talk to each other. They can share stuff with each other. They can connect with long lost friends. They can make new friends. They can join communities. It's going to be great. Everyone will become smarter because they can share information. We can all become more friendly because now your groups can expand and you can have more networking opportunities. Like, it's awesome. There's no downside to this. Let's build it. Well, did he realize like the catastrophe that social media would cause? That how bad it would be for young people especially? That it would actually spread misinformation? That it would increase divisiveness and like angry vitriol online? Did he ever think of that? Probably not. So that's what that's what happens with the technology is we build something and we go, this is going to be so awesome, everyone's going to love it. And there's no thought at all to what are the possible downsides to this? What could happen if this gets away from us or if this starts transforming into something we didn't realize? Well, they don't think like that because I want to be the first innovator. I want to make the money. I want to, whatever. I want people to look up to me as someone who's a genius, whatever motives we have. And we don't think about the downsides. Well, this is what happened with education. We thought, let's put classes online. It'll be great. They'll be convenient. You can do them whenever you want. You don't actually have to have a teacher being there every single second. So there's a lot more, kind of freedom for the students to do things they want, and we can pay teachers less because it's actually less work online. So it's a win-win for everybody. But you didn't think what a disaster it would be, that it would incentivize cheating, that it would create a greater divide between teachers and students, that it would call into question all of the grades that students receive and now the diplomas that students receive, where we all go, wait a second, if you didn't do anything, then how did you get a good grade? How do I know you're actually skilled when it looks like people cheat on this stuff all the time? So isn't this all just phony? Like everything is called into question. And so we put all our faith in these online systems, and are there some good components to them? Sure. I'm not saying they're entirely bad. The problem is you thought they would solve everything. You thought this will be just as good as in person. You take all the qualities of in person, we call it discussion boards, and they can still submit their assignments and we can give them feedback and you can still talk to your teacher. Now it's through email or stupid Zoom, but it's just the same as in person, except now it's way more convenient. No, it's not that at all. So these, teachers know this. Administrators probably don't because they don't do any teaching. So they don't realize this is all a catastrophe. But, the teachers want to keep their jobs. And when the administrator's like, we need someone to do these online classes, they're like, well, I don't want to get fired, so I guess I'll do it. So that's what we have. We have students want it easy. Teachers, though they know in-person classes are better, are like, well, if this is the way the school's going and if I want to keep my job, I guess I better get on board. The administrators don't have a clue about any of this. They just see revenue. They're like, oh, if we can do this, we can lower our teaching costs. We can get this to people now anywhere. They don't have to be in our city or state. I can teach kids from all over the country or the world and make money off of them. Everything's perfect. This is going to be awesome. We're going to make a bunch of money. Well, you didn't realize that this is a giant disaster. So this lady's finally, she's coming to that conclusion herself. But it's probably too late. The other element I like of this piece, and I think I would argue she could go even further with this, is that when I teach Frankenstein, if you want to check out my mini course on it, you can certainly do that. It's on my English Champion website. It is, yes, it's a story about what we just talked about, which is, well, did you think about what you were inventing? Did you think about the possible consequences? Alongside that, or similar to that, is that when I teach it, I talk a lot about how there's a monster within all of us. And in that book, Victor Frankenstein is the character who exhibits the traits I just talked about. He's someone who thinks, I'm going to do this amazing thing. When I do it, everyone's going to give me the adulation. I'm going to change the world with my invention. I can bring dead tissue back to life and create new human beings. Sounds awesome. What he didn't think, though, was, is there any way that I'm acting monstrously? I think I'm just a good person because I'm going to do this amazing scientific thing. Do I realize there's a monster within me? Am I recognizing that, is he playing a role in this? Is he about to do something that's pretty dangerous? Is he going to affect the culture in a negative way? Could this go wrong in any way? Well, that's the monster side, and it's always in there. The flip side of that, though, is that there is the monster, the creature in the story. The creature starts to think he's only monster because, he's kind of hideous looking, and Victor has, disowned him. And whenever he's come into contact with some of the people in the town, they run away from him and treat him terribly. And so he assumes he's a monster based on how other people have treated him. But he knows what's good. He's read Paradise Lost. He's learned a little bit of these philosophical ideas. He knows the difference between right and wrong and good and bad. Yet he chooses to stay a monster. He doesn't have to do that. So the monster thinks he's only one thing too. It's just the opposite. Victor thinks he's only good, doesn't realize he has a monster side to him. The monster thinks he's only monster, doesn't realize he has the power to make choices that are for good. And so that's what happens when you think you're only one thing and you don't recognize the other side of yourself. You can go and do terrible things to other people. So that's where we are here. We have teachers and students who at one point probably thought, well, this is only good. I'm a student. I'm only going to use this in the most positive way. I'm going to be able to study hard and get my degree, and I can, use this on my flexible schedule, and I can take classes at my pace, and it's going to be all great. Okay? Did you realize you also have a monstrous side to you? Did you realize that, it's going to be pretty tempting to cheat on this. It's going to be pretty tempting to use AI. It's going to be pretty tempting to talk to my other classmates and submit work that maybe wasn't mine. It's going to be pretty tempting to have someone else do my work for me. Well, it turns out that's what's happening all over the place. And it has been for a long time. So the students thought they were good. The teachers thought they were all good because, we're like, well, this sounds convenient. We want to help kids. So if they want to improve their lives, as she said, then this is one way to do that. So I guess we should do it. Everything sounds good. My administrators are all about it. They think it's going to be fantastic and it's going to earn the school a bunch of revenue and, it's going to be great. So I guess that's what we're doing. And so you thought it was only good. Meanwhile, there's always a downside. Now, is it all downside? No, of course not. There's some of these platforms are quite helpful. When even in my in-person, most schools now, even in their in-person classes, they have these modules that they use, and I used them to keep all my files in one place, and I could kind of add some notes. I could put my lecture notes in there, and then students could read them whenever they want. So it's pretty helpful to kind of compile all your stuff. You can update grades really fast, so it is pretty handy. But is there a downside to it? Yes, of course there is. There's both positives and negatives. The thing that I think she's getting at the end, and I wish we could make this clearer, because I'm going to make it clearer, is that what it takes is for teachers to walk away from this. Instead of going through with this Frankenstein-like experiment, we say, you know what? This sounds too monstrous. I don't think we should be doing this. Sounds like there could be too many downsides to this whole online education world, and we grant degrees this way. I don't think this is a positive. There's too many paths for various types of cheating. It's a disconnect between the students and the kids. And after all, as a teacher, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, is connecting with students to help them grow and learn. I can't do that through a screen where I'm just typing at them. There's all these problems. Maybe we should just say no to this. And maybe the students could do that as well, where they say, you know what? I actually do care about my education. I actually do want to learn. I want to talk to people who are really smart and peers who are really smart. I want to be in a classroom environment. Yes, I know it's less convenient because I have to go to this campus. But if that's what I wanted, if that's what I think is the best for my learning, then that's what I should do. So students can make a different choice too. If students stopped participating in this, then this would go away. Because administrators be like, boy, why is no one using these platforms that we pay a lot of money for? And all the students and the teachers could go, because they're stupid, you dumb administrator. This doesn't work. We don't like it. It's bad for teaching. It's bad for learning. Everyone's cheating and lying anyway. So let's get rid of it. And then maybe the administrators would wake up and go, okay, maybe let's stop paying for these services and go back to normal teaching. So we all have the power within us to recognize the other side. We have to be careful of things that could become dangerous, like these technologies, but we also have the power, like the monster in the actual Frankenstein novel by Mary Shelley. We could understand that we're a part of it, and as she says, look, we're all monstrous in this, but you can choose to be something else. You're only half monster. You can be on the good side of this, and the good side of this would be to walk away from it. Stop participating in something that you know is bad for people. And that's what I did. Once I got the taste of it and I figured out what this whole thing was about. One, I took an online job once because I needed the money, and two, I did it once because I was the boss and no one else was. I didn't trust anyone else to do it, and so I was like, well, I'll do it. And after both times, I was like, nope, I'm never doing this again. This is a nightmare. I'm walking away from this. And so I stopped. I would never do it again because I don't think it's good for education. So the students and the teachers, you can break away from this. You don't have to be part of the machine. You don't have to be part of the monster. You can be different. You can say, this is bad. Let's do something better. And I believe in-person teaching is better. In-person learning is better. So again, I like that she incorporates a literary metaphor here. It's about writing because this is taking place in with some of her writing assignments. It's about technology and what it's doing to our students and our teachers. And it's about education in general. Like, well, what is this thing we're doing called education? We've tried it this way, this online learning for a while now, and it's turned into a disaster. So how about we go a different direction? Maybe let's not do this anymore. But administrators, all they care about is money, as I've said 1,000 times before. Administrators see this as a cash register. Like, this is the way to make money. They don't care about the education part of it. They don't care what this is doing to kids. They don't care what this is doing to the teachers who have to, like she said, like, she feels terrible at the end of each semester because she's like, oh, I got to track down kids who are cheating. Now I have to kind of assume that students aren't really doing the work. I mean, what a terrible way to be a teacher. That's the opposite of what we want to do. We want kids who are engaged and who care. Well, the online format, again, the medium is the message. The medium tells us, because I can sit behind a screen and have someone else do my work, just have AI spit something out for me. It tells me, yeah, I don't have to care about this. Let the machinery do it. Well, we can walk away. So, a good article, a good parallel to Shelley's Frankenstein, but it's a good reminder for all of us. One, when we are inventing these things, do not for 1 second think that this is only going to be positive. There's no way that's true. And we have to always recognize there's a dangerous side to ourselves. And if we only think we're the good guys in these stories, the real world's going to smack you in the face and make you realize, no, you're actually on the bad side of this. You're part monster, and you didn't know it. So we have it within us. It's up to us to recognize the monstrous side of us and go, yeah, I'm not going to go down that path. I want to stay over here, because we all could do that. Like I said, I recognize the monstrous side of me too, which goes, yeah, this sounds super easy. When I've taught online, yeah, it was decent money for not a lot of work. It was pretty great. I had tons of free time in my schedule. Well, that was the monstrous side of the teacher in me talking, saying, just do the easy thing. Do the thing that's convenient. Take the easy money. And I had to go I had to have the realization that, nope, I don't like that side of me. I want to go back to being the proper teacher that I am. And so I keep that monstrous side of me in my relationship to technology away, and anyone can do that. You just have to make a choice. So there you go. Interesting article. I appreciate this teacher's insights, and who knows, maybe other teachers will come to the same conclusions, but there's monsters everywhere. We got to be careful. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.